final session of the day. The panel is all about creating a universally accessible built environment for tomorrow's India. So basically, we are bringing the tomorrow today. The panel discussion, led by architect Prashant Sutaria, aims to share the vision, create awareness, and generate momentum to achieve universal accessibility in the built environment. As and when leaders, we take your name, we request you to kindly come on up, starting off with Professor Jayashree Deshpande, Director, Council of Architecture Training and Research Center. With a big round of applause, Professor Jayashree, kindly come on up. I'm waiting for Jayashree ma'am to come in so I can give a quick bio. Thank you so much, ma'am. That was quite a walk, huh? Jayashree Deshpande is an architect, sociologist, and educator based in Pune. Jayashree is the ma'am, you can take a seat. Recipient of several awards and scholarships and has been involved in teaching for more than 3 decades. My God. That's 30 years plus of guidance, mentoring. Thank you so much. What a privilege to have you with us, ma'am. Our next leader we'd like to call on stage is architect P.R. Mehta, the chairman of National Accreditation Board for Education and Training, Quality Council of India. With a big roaring round of applause, let's call in Mr. Mehta. Mr. Mehta, please come on up. Mr. Mehta is a fan favorite. He's got a lot of chahne wale. Mr. Mehta is the chairman of National Accreditation Board for Education and Training, Quality Council of India. He's a former president of Council of Architecture India. He's also director of Shri Bhagwan Mahavir Viklang Sahayata Samiti, known for Jaipur Food. Sir, thank you so much. What our absolute honor to have you with us. And I think President se niche is something that we don't even read in your bio. So you're born to be a leader and born to be a president. Thank you so much, Mr. Mehta. Our next leader we'd like to call on stage is Dr. Anjlee Agarwal, the co-founder and executive director of SAMARTHYAM. Dr. Anjlee is the disability rights advocate, accessibility, mobility, and WASH specialist. She co-founded SAMARTHYAM India National Center for Accessible Environments in 1993. With a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Can we have a standing ovation? Can we please stand up and give a big round of applause for ma'am. Dr. Anjlee, we cannot thank you enough for firstly your presence, your time, and sharing your knowledge. And I mean, a phoenix is what we would like to call you. I think facing difficulties with a smile on your face is something that leaders, it's a very rare trait, but we're thankful to you and your service to the society. Thank you so much, ma'am. Next, we'd like to call on stage Dr. Kavita Murugkar, the principal, Bharati Vidyapeeth College of Architecture, Pune. Dr. Kavita is an accomplished architect, instructor, and advocate of universal design with a remarkable 20-year career in both teaching and practice. With a doctorate at intersection of disability, architecture, and built environments, Dr. currently serves as the principal of Bharati Vidyapeeth College of Architecture in Pune. With a big roaring round of applause, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming all the way from Pune, sharing your time and knowledge with us. And of course, we have architect Sidhant Shah, the founder and Access consultant. Access for All Mumbai is our panelist number 5. Mr. Shah is a national awardee disability access and universal design expert, is a founder of Access for All, a leading disability accessibility consulting firm in India, which aims to bridge the gap and make spaces, museums, cultural heritage. So basically, you do it all. A multitasker. Thank you so much. And of course, the leader with the toughest task, architect Prashant Sutaria, principal architect PSA and co-founder CELPT. With a big roaring round of applause, Mr. Sutaria, please come on up. For the past 3 decades, Mr. Sutaria is at the helm of PSA Mumbai and is also the co-founder of Center of Living and Planning for Tomorrow. His practice has garnered considerable recognition, which includes 15 international and 13 national awards. Sir, what a pleasure. What an esteemed panel. We cannot eagerly wait for you to start. Over to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for such wonderful introduction for all my stalwart panelists. They represent a very diverse group, diverse age bracket, and diverse experience. So I'm very grateful that all of them have agreed And as you know, there was a thunderstorm, the lifts were not working. So I'm grateful to all of them for being considerate, adjust things and reach here with whatever difficulties they had with a smile on their face. So very good afternoon, friends. And today we are going to talk about something very interesting. And as we begin, as we know, we are aiming to be a developed country and a leading economic power. And as designers and people from this industry, we have a very important contribution to make. If we can do good projects, good design, then what we will create will be an exemplary thing for not only India but also the developing world to see. There are various obligations as designers, and whatever the laws which are there of the land, as well as certain commitments which are made by India as part of UN Charter and the Disability Act of 2016, there are certain obligations on our part as designer to follow those. And as we'll see the presentation today and talk today, you will realize that there is a lot that all of us can do. So the whole idea was to sensitize all of us towards what this is all about. I'm sure many of you are aware of it, but when we hear from our experts, it will add a lot of value to what our knowledge is. To just give you a general background, I mean, when we travel abroad, don't we admire the kind of public infrastructure in terms of roads, pedestrian-friendly areas, and the respect that pedestrians command? And when we look at our country, do we find it? It's a question to all of you, something to think about. So if it's difficult for us as common, normal human being, if anybody or any one of us has any challenges in terms of a temporary disability or any other permanent disability, how are we going to navigate through this difficult terrain? And with that in mind, we have curated today's session. I'm sure there are various disabilities which are notified by Government of India and which will open up in the course of the day in terms of our next discussion. To kickstart the discussion, I want to show you what is happening in our new India. When we see all these mega structures, mega projects being unveiled, constructed, executed, including this Pragati Maidan itself. So, and there is something called an audit that you do, and whether it's before the project is conceived or during its execution or after the project is completed. So just to kickstart the discussion, I want to show you, I did a very small survey of something which is existing next to my office in Mumbai. And as you know, Mumbai is undergoing construction of 7 metro lines, and more than 50,000 crores is being pumped into the construction of metro lines. And I want to show you a small presentation of one particular station. So presentation number 1, please. So this is about mapping and analysis of Lower Oshiwara metro station, which is just next to my office. And I'm going to show you how things move. So just to give you a perspective, this is the location part of the metro line which is coming up. It's a small area which is it's covering. 5,000 crore plus is the budget for this particular section. Now this is the location of that metro station, and there are office buildings, there is a residential building, there is a mall over there. So when you go inside this newly built metro station, you will find that there are tactile detail on the floor. So any person with visual disability can navigate through this, that is the idea. But then what happens next? So when a person moves towards the exit, and this is where he reaches a threshold, what we call, and then the steps climb down from there. So there is a railing, and then the person can navigate further down. So this is where the first hurdle comes. The detail has stopped over here. There is suddenly a jali which has come, and then a visually impaired person will not know how to go further. So he will have to naturally take help. So whatever is done till now, this has come to a dead end in technicality. This is the same conclusion is written in words. And then there is another situation after this. When you land onto the footpath, you can see the state of affairs there. So if this kind of scenario is there, where there are no tactile tile, or there is no handrail, there is encroachment on footpath, how are we expecting somebody with any kind of disability to navigate? Forget them, even we cannot navigate. You just look at this scenario. I'll show you one. Just look at this. This is the state of affairs of our public infrastructure. And we have spent 5,000 plus crores in last 2 years on this particular project. So it's very, very difficult for common man. These are all further pictures which are showcasing how that particular exit is moving towards various directions. Here also there is only a yellow tile, there is no tactile detail in it. So a person who is trying to navigate the way through a cane, he cannot do that. So there are various conclusions which are there, but I think it's the more important point. I am sure all of you have understood that it's not money. It's about the intent, and it's about the sensitivity of a person who is executing that project, whether it is an engineer or an architect or interior designer like us. And that's what we want to discuss today. So with this, I would like to go to our first speaker, PR Mehta sir, and he is going to talk about some presentations.
Prashant, Jayashree ji, Anjlee ji, Kavita ji, Sidhant, eminent architects in the audience, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. When Prashant spoke to me about this discussion, the question he asked me was that we all know this is not getting implemented. So is there anything else? Is there anything else? Is there any other endeavor which can increase mobility of people with dignity? So I said yes. There are a number of efforts which are being done in different parts of the world. And I bring to you one very small effort which is being done in India. And that is by Bhagwan Mahavir Viklang Samiti, known for Jaipur Foot. What does it do? It rehabilitates Divyangs, provide them mobility, enhance their self-respect, restore confidence, and at the end of it, it's a dignity. The uniqueness of this model, and I'll take you to some details, that it is provided to all Divyangs free of cost. We work on limbs, artificial foot, and what we have developed is a rapid fit Jaipur foot technology, which provides a foot to a person, an amputee, in a day's time, and a single visit is enough. When we compare it with what happens in hospitals, it is 3 to 6 visits spread over maybe 5 to 6 months. So this is what has been invented in India, in Jaipur, and now popularly known as Jaipur Foot. We have foot, we have socket, we have complete limb, we have a knee joint, below knee, above knee, all. And what does it do to a person? He can walk, he can sit, he can squat. Whatever routine he wishes to follow, he can do that. And what we ensure is that this limb and foot is as close to natural one as possible. Be it its weight, be it its shape, be its flexibility, be its utilization for the function which responds to our cultural requirement. Yeah. Okay, so here is a person who did not have one of his foot. He was an amputee. And the next thing you see after the fitment, he can run, he can climb a tree, he can ride a bicycle. And here is a person who didn't have both of his legs. And then this is how we fit it. Custom made completely, his size, dimensions, everything taken. And now we are moving on to scanning it. So this is what we do. And then he walks as a normal person. And then we see a young person, sometimes an amputee, who rolls on skates happily. So this is how he gets his mobility. You can drive a motorcycle, you can run, participate in marathon, whatever you wish to do in your life, you could do. And you can dance. This is Sudha Chandran. Uses Jaipur foot. And somebody, if you have to offer namaz, there would be no problem. It would have those flexibility in joints, maneuverability. You can wear shoes. You need not wear shoes. Barefoot you could be. You could do anything which a normal person would expect to do. And then we work on the costs. A Jaipur foot costs about 550 rupees. If it's a full limb, maybe 5,500 rupees. And this would be a fraction of the cost one would have to pay if you have to get a foot or a limb prepared in the Western countries, including USA. So what we do in about $70, the nearest to Jaipur foot is 12,000 US dollars. It's a great piece of art, craft. There are craftsmen working. There is a science every day we infuse into it, technology which is developed, and a humanitarian face the organization has as service to humanity. We strive every day to improve the quality of the product. We moved from aluminum, ISRO worked with us, we moved to plastic, we moved to HDPE. And the whole idea is that how it could become more efficient and more cost effective so that it can reach out to everyone. Intense research collaboration, intense activity on research front. Stanford has worked for years with this organization, and we have developed a knee joint for them, with them, and it is now popularly known as Stanford Jaipur knee. Nearly 2.2 million people have been helped by this organization over last 45 years. Our 30 centers in India offer a walk-in service to any disabled person or an amputee or a person needing a caliper can come in, no registration required, and he's discharged the same day with the assistive device he wanted. Jaipur Foot's footprint are in 40 countries across the globe. And then we serve each and everyone in these countries without any consideration, without any condition. Our continuous research in this leads us to multiple dimensions of the design of this fort, the strength of this fort, fitment of this fort, and we have a number of MOUs at this moment with a number of universities, including Stanford. We are working with MIT, we are working with IIT Delhi, we are working with MNIT Jaipur. That was the first collaboration we had. And very recently, we are about to sign. We would have a collaboration with SPA New Delhi for further improvements in this product. Times Magazine in US in 2009 said this is one of the best inventions, was 50 inventions of the world. India for Humanity, we have become part of this mission of Government of India. We go overseas to fit these limbs to amputees. In last 5 years, we have covered almost 20 countries. Nearly 30 camps have been conducted, and nearly 15,000 people in different countries, they have been provided Jaipur foot. Some of the countries we have covered are all war-torn. Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Syria, Rwanda, you name the country where you have had a war, and we were there. And then, of course, wherever you have amputees because of blood sugar. Afghanistan, we have had our experience. This is Iraq. We'll soon be having one more camp in Iraq in another few days. Everywhere we go, we plan for about 500, 600 Ministry of External Affairs plans for it. And our technicians go from here, all trained here, professionally trained, and then trained as a craftsperson, because everything has to be custom made. And that's the blessings we get. This is in Japan. We are not only going to underdeveloped or third world, but the best of facilities which people have, and we still go to them. And they feel that this is what can do something good. This is our center in Manila. We have 7 overseas affiliates, apart from having camps. So sometimes this happens that some of the dignitaries from India, when they travel, they visit our center. So this is one where Prime Minister had visited. This is another one where our Honorable President had visited this camp and had seen what exactly India is contributing. So Jaipur Foot is no more a particular society, but it is seen as a nation contributing to the humanity. And this is what we are working on, still being provided a hand, artificial hand. We have young children coming to us. And then we get support from lot of companies which earn profit and they want to give back to society. Tata's is one. The Vice President recently flagged off one of our teams to Syria. And then what we expect from architects. While we are doing this, we started this almost 25 years before the first PWD Act came. That we thought of work, my uncle, Mr. D.R. Mehta, he thought that this is what needs to be done to increase the mobility of those who do not have. And when then PWD Act came, and now the newer version in 2016 after 1995, we still have miles to go. Hardly anything has been done. But our expectation is that we all would be sensitive to the needs, not what a law provides. What a law demands, that is not our obligation alone. It does not end there. We have to see everyone as a part of the society, be it a Divyang, or be it an elderly person, or be it a young child, or be it a pregnant woman. What we need to provide for in our design, in terms of surfaces, in terms of equipment, in terms of material, in terms of facility, and make them, these specs, part of our routine BOQ. This is what I expect. And then today, we have a camp at Chandigarh. It's on. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, sir. You and your family deserve a big round of applause for initiating this kind of a wonderful activity and doing it so passionately besides doing so many other things. I acknowledge presence of your daughter here. Thank you, ma'am, for accompanying him and being over here. After this, I would like to go to the presentation number 3. And ma'am.
Good afternoon. Can't hear you. Good afternoon. Better, much better. So it's an honor to be here among all the women who have been participating and who have been celebrating and getting the award today. And being a woman here, I really celebrate diversity, along with it, inclusion. And the presentation that I'm going to make is more on inclusion and how exclusion can make a big difference in our lives. And I experienced it today when I was stranded alone in the basement in the parking and the lifts were not working. So let me just begin with SAMARTHYAM, the organization that I run. I co-founded it in 1993, and the purpose was to actually bring about bring about this understanding why accessibility is required. So we got a UN accreditation in 2015. We are also member of the steering committee of Accessible India campaign, empaneled as accessibility auditors since 2015 with Government of India, and co-authored many national accessibility standards, including the National Building Code 2016 as well as the Harmonized Guidelines 2016. As a member of the CSO Standing Committee, VPIO, we also looked at bridging the gap between the policies and the implementation that is happening at the ground level. SAMARTHYAM has two wings. One is the National Center for Accessible Environments, and another one is the Women with Disabilities Forum for Action. And in the journey of these 31 years, in fact, now, we have been able to train a lot of engineers, architects, have done empowerment sessions, accessibility audits of more than 11,000, 12,000 buildings, got awards, recognitions, and found that there's so much more to do because the journey has just begun and people need to understand what actually universal accessibility is all about. We do have law in the country. It's a very powerful, very strong law, and we have been doing, the Government of India has been ratifying a lot of conventions which are globally accepted. Still, making the right real is not happening. So, I think the message that I want to give to all of you present here listening to me is that if we look at our present and future and look at from the inclusion gender lens, I think we'll be able to achieve a better quality of life. We will be having many people with transgenerational population included everywhere, be it education, health, employment, recreation, tourism, and many other aspects of life. And it benefits everyone. I'm sure people, all of you who are sitting here would agree to me that we are getting old. Are we or are we not? Are we getting old? Okay, so people who are not nodding, that means they have a formula they can share with me so that I can always remain young. Thank you so much for that. But since that we are getting old, we also require an accessible environment for our age when we are above 50, above 60. So looking from that particular angle, and I'm going to give you 4 words, which is SARA. If we speak in Hindi, SARA means Sampoorn, Sab Kuch. And if I explain it in English, it is safety, accessibility, reliability, and affordability. Safety, be it on roads, be it in buildings, emergency evacuation, guiding the people, telling them where is what, how to come out, what needs to be done. Accessibility is all about access, but not about just approach. It's also about using what is available. So a user-friendly design is about accessibility. Reaching a building is accessibility. And also exiting in a dignified manner is also accessibility. So I'm giving you some Indian examples in the pictures here. We started with all the heritage monuments, including we started accessibility audit of the Prime Minister's office, the Nirman Bhavan where the policies are made, and the gate from where the ministers entered, we provided a ramp. Tourism sites, the Red Fort, the Humayun's Tomb, and also beginning with our pilot project in 2006, the Delhi Haat INA market, including the Garden of Five Senses. And I really want to tell you a small story here. Pradeep Sachdeva, the architect who was involved in Delhi Haat, he got so much motivated and inspired that he made the entire Garden of Five Senses fully accessible for all kind of people with disabilities and without disabilities. I just was looking at the pictures what Prashant was showing from the metro Mumbai. Here I have pictures of Delhi, which is one of the best metros in the world. And it's it's also about reliability. The reliability in the trip chain, the availability of all public amenities, and also that everybody can board the metro system, again without discrimination. So these are our projects, including Namma Metro, where we came from very beginning, looking at the plans, the vetting of the designs, and then moving forward to construction of the station buildings. The bus rapid transit system throughout the country, starting with Delhi, moving on to Jaipur, Indore, and many other cities. So the final point of SARA is affordability, which is looking at not only the affordability in terms of money, resources, but also saving energy, time. And then looking at a very important outcome that we all keep saying, live, work and play throughout all stages of life. And in the COVID-19 context, we have also learned that accessibility is extremely important. So here to all of you, my message is, there are possibilities which are endless because there are opportunities which are abundant, and you guys can do wonders in your designs. Looking at aesthetics, looking at accessibility, looking at safety, and most importantly, in a dignified manner. So the last word that I want to say before I end my presentation is that we are in a very in a state where we do not have time, money, or the mandate, or the notion, or the understanding to exclude. It's a real threat. We have to look at equity because it is our democratic goal also, and we don't have the money to break the buildings and make it. So the white elephant that has been created here, and we're all sitting here, beautifully designed, a beautiful building, but the tagline for me is, I'm not accessible. Ending with it, thank you so much for giving me this platform and bringing in this understanding and the opportunity. And telling again the message loud and very clear. It's not about yesterday, it's not about tomorrow, we have to start today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And I think she deserves a big round of applause. So I think everyone, she is actually demonstrating how one can take on things and reach to greater heights despite all the difficulties that she is facing. So thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, so now moving on to our next speaker is presentation number 4, and Jayashree ma'am is going to speak. I'm so sorry, ma'am. I'm so sorry.
A very good afternoon to all. Dignitaries on the dais, Prashant ji, Mehta sahab, Anjlee ji, Sidhant and Kavita ji. Dignitaries of the dais, Puneet ji, representing the Council of Architecture, Garg sahab, and so many other of my dear friends here. Before I begin to say anything, I would like to thank Team Wade and Vartika and Madhurima for having us here and initiating this very important topic of universal accessibility on a forum like this. Thank you, Wade. I'm supposed to be talking about some work that the Council of Architecture has been doing with the Ministry of Social Justice. On a platform like this, I think Council of Architecture needs no introduction, but very briefly I would just like to say that it is a statutory body instituted in 1972 under an act of the Parliament and charged with the responsibility of maintaining the Register of Architects and also looking after the education and profession of architects in India. The Council of Architecture conducts its academic activities through its training and research centers. We have 3 of them, one in Pune, another one in Bhopal, and one coming up in Delhi. The academic activities that are carried out are predominantly training programs, research activity, awards programs, and recently we have been doing some programs together with the Bureau of Energy Efficiency on the introduction of the Energy Conservation Building Code, working with Griha Council, and very recently under an MOU with the Ministry of Social Justice and the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, we are trying to work on the aspect of universal accessibility. Under this MOU between the two, that is the COA and DPEWD, it is expected that we further the cause of universal accessibility and bring about not just awareness but strengthen the cause and create a better environment for living all over India. These are some of the aspects that are to be covered under the MOU of the two bodies, and we are hoping that in the coming future, near future, we would be able to take this initiative forward in a big way. The RPWD Act, which is in vogue, makes it mandatory that every building in the public domain in India has to be universally accessible. There are rules, there are regulations in place, but I must say that to ensure that all these are actually put into practice is something that now we are trying to do. The Council of Architecture has set up an important committee to work on the universal accessibility domain, and we have stalwarts on that committee. We have two of them sitting right here, Prashant ji and Mehta sir, and Anjlee ma'am. Three of them, yes, I'm sorry. Three of them here who are part of the committee, and they are creating a roadmap telling us and guiding us as to how to make universal accessibility or bring it into the mainstream. There are different ways of doing it, and in the first, they are coming up with a compendium, a manual, which is being developed in 7 volumes, which refer to various aspects of accessibility and which will be available in the public domain very soon. The other part of that is a program for training of universal accessibility auditors. This program has been envisioned in 3 parts, Module 1, 2 and 3, plus 2 more, Module 4 and Module 5. The idea is that we identify senior teachers, senior architects and senior engineers from across India and train them to be trainers in the domain of universal accessibility. The first 3 modules of this program, M1, 2 and 3, deal with sensitization about the aspect of accessibility, understanding the various laws related to this, and then do case studies and finally understand how to audit these public buildings to ensure that they are accessible. The program would be conducted in 3 stages, or rather 2 stages. One is the online model, which has been very recently completed. And the second stage would consist of 2 more sub-stages. That is the module 4, which would be conducted offline, where the participants would be taken to the site and would be asked to demonstrate the auditing of a public building, one greenfield and one brownfield project. Module 5 is where these participants would go back to their cities and demonstrate the conducting of the audit on 2 buildings of their own choice in their own city and make a presentation to the committee. Now, after completing 3 stages, it is expected that the participants of this program would be able to train further auditors, 1, to conduct the audit, and 2, carry on training in different centers in India. It is anticipated that the participants who joined the first program from 28 institutes of colleges of architecture from across India would then conduct these programs in strategically located multiple centers all over India so that the entire country gets covered by these centers. And in a cascading effect, they would conduct programs at their own centers to ensure that there are enough number of auditors in their region. We hope that these centers would work in overlapping circles so that the entire country will have adequate number of professionals who are qualified to audit buildings for the purpose of universal accessibility. Further, it is also expected that these auditors get registered with the Council of Architecture and are bound with the rules and laws of the Council and ensure that every building is accessible, not just on paper but in reality. Thank you very much. I also acknowledge the presence of Gajanan Ramji, the Vice President of Council of Architecture. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for that very insightful information. As she has expressed, whatever this program of auditors is coming up, it also opens up a huge opportunity for people who are looking at something more in terms of profession besides working towards a good cause. So there is something more interesting besides, talking about it, which is coming up. And we are very thankful to Dr. Anjlee and PR Mehta sir for guiding us in that particular committee with their experience and vision. And there are so many other people who are supporting us. So it's a very collective effort which is going on. And recently, our first inaugural session with the minister happened, right? So the first module has been unveiled, online training. 11 September it was unveiled. So it's already happening now. So moving on, now we have Kavita madam, and she'll be making the presentation number 5. So please start presentation number 5.
Yeah, so before, good afternoon everyone. I'm Dr. Kavita Murugkar. In this round of introduction, I thought I will share a video which showcases the small contribution I've been able to make in the last 13 years of my pursuit to forward the cause of universally accessible built environment for not just persons with disabilities, but for all of us, I would say, because universal accessibility is not the need of just any person who has impairment, but I think it is a need for all of us. We're all going to age, and at some point of the time, we are all going to face some reduced mobility, vision, memory, cognitive powers, etc. Universal design caters to needs of all of us in all such kind of life conditions. And hence, this became a subject of my passion, my mission. And I've been really blessed to have been able to work at the national level as an accessibility auditor under the Accessible India campaign with the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. In the video that you will see, it showcases the small contributions in the form of research, building a body of research around universal design and accessibility, contribution towards policy and national level guidelines to create accessible built environment. In education, to start with developing elective courses on universal design and accessibility to capacity building courses for architects, engineers, designers, to developing an architectural pedagogy for implementing universal design education in institutions, to experience and work done as an access auditor, not stopping at just doing access audits, but actually hand-holding the implementers to create accessible built infrastructure. And I'm really happy that we could walk that path, because the experience has been only doing access audits doesn't help. What the real journey is from completing the access audit to actually creating the built infrastructure required for making the built environment accessible for people. I think before we see the video, I think the onus is on all of us. There is a law, there is a policy, there are guidelines, and there are best practices. But I don't know what all of us are really waiting and watching for. No matter how much ever pressure, or mandates come, unless we are committed to the cause, unless we are self-motivated, we take it as our social ethical responsibility as architects to create enabling environments, we are really not going to see an inclusive India very soon. And I think architecture and design as a profession has always ignored and underestimated this particular subject, this particular cause. And it's really high time that we understand the implications such a disabling environment that we are creating every single day has on numerous lives. And they could be our dear ones as well. Maybe not today, but tomorrow. So let's take this opportunity to pledge and to commit ourselves to create socially responsible architecture by ensuring universal accessibility. Aesthetics definitely comes in. It's never compromised as it is misunderstood through universal access. But I think fundamental is to create infrastructure or built environment or designs that work for all. So thank you so much for this opportunity, Ved, Madhurima, and Vatika, and Prashantji for having me on this panel. And I'll request the video now. Thank you. I would just like to add one last few words here. I would like to dedicate all this work to all the persons with disabilities whom I called as user experts, because it is from them that I have really learned the significance, the impact that universal accessibility can create for their lives, and also how to do it. I think that's something that can be best learned from the users themselves. And really happy if there are faculty here to share a lot of experiments that I've been able to do in my studios by bringing in user experts, actual users into the studios, and teaching the future generation of architects on how to create universally accessible designs. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I think she deserves a big round of applause. And she said two things. Dr. Kavita said two things. One is she is wondering why designers are not just doing it. So at just Nike had said, just do it, because it's the need of the hour. And the second thing she's written very beautifully, empower through design. So our designs can actually empower somebody's life to live in a more qualitative way. And I think that's all we should take it up as a mission. So thank you, ma'am, for showing us the way ahead. Moving on, we have a shining star who is practicing in this particular field, and for last 10 years, Sidhant, right? And I would also request him to tell towards the end why he got into it. So very inspiring story, very inspiring practice, a big case study for all of us to see what you can do with this particular field. Please, Sidhant, the field is yours. Presentation number 6.
My name is Sidhant. My age is almost the work experience of some of the distinguished people over here, and I run a practice called Access for All. Before I start, I just want to ask a question. How many of you over here identify as a person with special need? It's more about understanding what do you need and how do you consider accessibility in your work. And how many of you have designed at least one ramp in your workplace or in your design? Very sad to see few hands. I thought iske liye to sab haath upar karenge. How many of you have designed and had braille signages in your designs somewhere? या signage के BOQ में डाला था braille signage, but cost ज़्यादा है तो braille हटा दिया. Okay, still one or two hands. And finally, how many of us design for invisible disability, for hearing impairment? Anybody over here who is hard of hearing? Just imagine if the entire talk that is being given here, and there are people who are hard of hearing and cannot even understand what's happening here, right? Or the spaces, as we all are talking about, not designed to cater to a larger group of audience. Or if all of you had to stand up and attend this particular talk, can I request everyone to please stand up? Can you all please stand up? Thank you. Still difficult for someone to stand up, right, and attend. And that talks about that it goes beyond disability. How many of you can listen to, over here I see a timer that says around 7 minutes. How many of you are keen to just stand up and listen through the whole thing for 7 minutes? Few. All those who can stand, otherwise the rest can sit down. It's okay, all of you can sit down. The idea is that here you have the choice to decide, right? You have the choice to decide, and that is what accessibility should be. The user should have the choice to decide whether they want to sit, they want to stand, they want to lean and attend a session or do things. And that's why lastly, when it comes to invisible disability, there's not much done, and we only do when we have something that's more personal. So I'm just going to go back one slide and talk about the genesis of Access for All. I was in my 3rd year of architecture, and I'm very bold to say that I myself have not considered accessibility as a very important thing, but it was only that in my 3rd year my mother acquired visual impairment, and suddenly the house itself where you're living for 30 years became an inaccessible space. That's where you realize, and as Kavita ma'am spoke about, right, empowering through design. we had to figure out ways so that she could be there and go through the day-to-day practice. And while that was on, also to understand that how inclusion was even taught, and I'm really glad that, we are talking about teaching this. When I was studying, we had 6 weeks of universal design elective, and we were told about wheelchair accessible parking, wheelchair accessible toilets, wheelchair accessible corridors, and that's where our understanding of inclusion, disability access in design ends. Nobody is talking about acoustics, or if I talk like this, you will not be able to hear. If I whisper, you will not be able to hear, right? Those simulations go away. It's only about, and let's not even go closer to the understanding of mental health in architecture, right? Again, a very important aspect of being inclusive in design. And that's where I realized that वैसे तो गुजराती है तो धंधा ही करना पड़ेगा, and didn't want to get into a charity based approach of disability access, and really didn't want to get into an activist based approach, and realize that let's use the professional skills that we have, let's use the power of design that we have been put in for 5 years, डाला गया है कि सोचो, designer की तरह सोचो, how we can make an impact in life. So it's been 7 years now, and Access for All has been working in various different places. We've been working in around 7 countries internationally. Just last year, National Geography made a documentary on us. It's called One for Change, and it's available on YouTube if you put in Art of Inclusion. We are also the consultants to the Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya here at Teen Murti Bhavan, which is a digital museum. And how do you make a physical space that has digital aspects more inclusive and accessible? How do I tell people that if I have photosynthetic, I'm not wearing a fancy glass because I just want to come here and look fancy. I'm wearing this because I knew that this hits, and this is more like a shield, and I know standing on the stage, the flashlight that falls on the person. These are just elements that we need to consider, and those are the things that I do as my day-to-day practice. I'll just go ahead. So these are some of the key services that we offer. We do, like all of us over here, accessibility audit is something that all of us do in various different capacities. We started also conducting inclusive outreach programs for museums, art galleries, monuments. Sign language interpretation facilities are provided for events. Today also happens to be the International Day of Sign Language, which is 23rd September. And the last entire week was on creating awareness from 18 to 23rd was around deaf awareness. Multiple types of disability sensitization programs and workshops. And during COVID, we thought that now we had to wrap up things and band karna padega dukaan, but then we realized that digital space needs to be as inclusive as possible. So without seeing if you can type on your phone, without just thinking you can click a selfie, that's because that's the power of the UI and UX in the design. And specifically to the audience here, this is a work that we do for architecture and design schools and institutes, conducting multiple faculty development programs, integrating real-life situations and solutions in practice, skill-building workshops, design and disability electives and workshops, and multiple lectures. I'm also a serial TEDx speaker. I've given over 17 TEDx talks. All of them are available online. And while we've been doing this, I realized that we're not associated with a government or an agency, but if there is a will, and I read a very interesting thing that was put up over here by Vartika. It says the ultimate way to get the best out of your life is to do that what you strongly believe in. And I think that really became my motto, and I started working. We do conduct audits. We have been working largely with corporate setups where we look at their buildings. We work with the facility management teams to understand how are they managing the sites, because for corporates it's a rented property, but for those who own the real estate, what are the interventions that can be done that do not affect the building and can be done easily. We also design and create tactile braille signages. We've been providing this for multiple different architects, designers, even for government agencies. And to understand that it is not only a setup that's placed, but like if I have to come inside a venue like this, which is massive, how do I go around at various different places to enter and also understand where I am at? Along with that, of course, we customize various signages for, these are different services that we provide for designers, corporates for the restrooms. That's one signage that they've put and they feel like they've done, there's one tick in the checklist. While we do so much, I thought I'll talk about the work that I started doing, and I started working with making museums and tourism more accessible and inclusive, because when my mother acquired disability, we suddenly stopped traveling. A family of 4 stopped traveling because of one person. Imagine the impact it has on the economy. It is also about the business, and that's where the journey began, and we started looking at making museums more accessible. Next time you are in Delhi, do go to the National Museum. We've been one of the resource consultants for setting up India's first tactile gallery, where the signage says please touch instead of saying please do not touch. We create multiple different artworks. We've been working with organizations like DAG, Delhi Art Gallery, KNMA, Kiran Nadar Museum. I have some samples with me. I'm more than happy to show you later. We've been developing this, and while this was rapidly covered across in various different newspapers and other places, somebody came and told us that, Sidhant, you make tactile artworks. I had taken my nephew over there, and he could only touch the artwork, but there was no information that was provided. And that day we realized that, fair enough, that's a very important feedback, and from that day onwards, everywhere we would design and have specific Braille guidebooks that would give information, but also give them the information about what to touch, where, what additional resources were there. And we've also made dual language, so if there's somebody assisting them can also touch and feel these. All these architectural elements are created in a tactile format. That's for the City Palace in Jaipur. While this was again happening, we got another feedback, and somebody told me that, Sidhant, you have Braille captions, but I'm taking my son along, but I don't know what's written. How do I explain it to him? And can anyone over here read and tell me what's written in the caption? Could anyone volunteer? With the show of the hands, how many of you cannot read what is written in the caption? With the show of the hands, how many of you cannot or cannot read it? Can you read what's written in that Braille? No, right? So how do we make sure that rather than segregating under the name of inclusion, and I think that's one thing that we do, that wheelchair ke liye ye lijiye, regular idhar se jaiye. And there's nothing like regular, it has to be integrated, right? It has to be universally designed, and that's where we started working, and we looked at different things, and this is something that we've been working on now for various different designers and for museums. Do you see something interesting over there? Like, can you read the caption? Yeah, you think somebody else can also read the caption? Anybody who's blind? If you zoom in, you will see that they have transparent captions. That there's transparent Braille that we've been working on, and it's a text overlay. So you can have your text, you have your Braille, and in true ways, you can make things more accessible. You can integrate rather than segregate information and then give people that segregated feel that ye tumhare liye, ye hamare liye. So these are some of the things that we have been doing and we have been working in the space. I have the limitation of time, so I would like to end with that the power of universal design does not only lie in making something accessible, but also with the potential to transform, to change, so that you can bring about a change. It should not be a mandate given by your client that ramp add karna. शायद आपका पैर टूट जाए और आप site visit पे wheelchair पे जाओ तो आप अंदर नहीं जा पाएंगे. So let's consider that disabilities like diabetes, it could happen to anyone at any given point in time. And it may not always be permanent, but also temporary. You may have situational disability that one needs to cater to. And just ending on a lighter note, since all architects and designers here and how some of our contractors take us for granted, I had told my contractor over here कि sir step up ramp बनाना है. तो ही इज़ लाइक ठीक है सर, आप 20 दिन के बाद आइए, हमारा रैम्प रेडी होगा. ही मेड अ रैम्प जस्ट 2 days बिफोर द ऑडिट विजिट. ही रियलाइज सर ने स्टेप अप रैम्प बोला था. ही लिटरली कट ऑफ द फ्रंट पार्ट ऑफ द रैम्प एंड एडेड अ स्टेप ओवर देयर. ही लाइक ऑडिट के लिए आप देख लीजिए, हम उसको बाद में कलर करवा देंगे. While I was just coming over here and I found that this is another ramp right in Pragati Maidan. Anything interesting in the ramp? There's literally a step in the ramp. They were given, it's perfect. The gradient is 1:12. The gradient is perfect. The surface, perfect. Tick mark. Hand railing, tick mark. Perfect. बट अभी किसी को स्टेप चाहिए तो क्या हुआ, व्हील स्टेप के बीच में से निकाल देंगे. So that's really like, who's doing this? Are we doing it? Are people on site doing it? Is it our negligence? Is it the negligence of even considering accessibility as an important element or not? And lastly, I want to end with this one signage that I saw yesterday. And that's a signage for a ramp and a wheelchair. Just imagine the plight. So it does not only is not the onus of the designer, but it's also the visual designer. How do we understand how things work and how do we really integrate? So on that note, I would like to thank you, and thank you so much for being an attentive audience. If you enjoyed, please do give all of us a round of applause. Thank you. And we do have a accessibility design resource kit. If you all are interested, more than happy to share, please do write to us and we'll be more than happy to send it across. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prashant ji, and the entire team here, Komal, Vartika and the team. Thank you.
Thank you, Sidhant, for that enlightening and very well presented, energetic presentation. I think Sidhant is the youngest of all of us here, and he presents the opportunity this field has. As he rightly said, Gujarati हूँ तो धंधे के बारे में तो सोचूंगा ही. So thank you, Sidhant, for showing a different angle. Now there are two options with you. Either you can ask us a question or I can ask them a question. So yeah, please. So I give first option to all of you.
So thank you all for sharing your presentation. It is very good to know that this kind of a discussion is happening. I'm hard of hearing, as you may have figured out from earlier, and I have about 70% of hearing loss, which means that I can only hear 30%. I'm guessing rest of the 70%, which means that I would have needed some kind of an assistance, which is captioned on the wall. Now, there's a discussion going on about accessibility, and we're talking about designing from point of view of, or through the eyes of a disabled person. The best thing to do is to include them in the decision making. I'll be able to, if you ask somebody like me, I'll be able to tell you that I need caption, I don't need sign language, whereas a friend of mine would be able to come and tell you that I need sign language for today's discussion. So just a consideration that please include us in all your discussions and all your policy making going forward. So that's my statement, but still I appreciate this discussion is happening because that means things are only going to get better. I just have a question, ma'am. Jayashree, ma'am, I'm incidentally an architect myself from SPA Delhi, and I've been hearing a lot about the training of the training teachers to train people to become auditors. My question is, how many auditors do you think we need? Is the training, is COA training enough auditors that is needed for the buildings all over India?
See, the mandate is that we would have all the public buildings disabled friendly, or it would have universal access. We have 5,000 ULBs and 250,000 panchayats which own some of these public buildings apart from central government. So the mandate Ministry of Social Justice has given is that first year we should have 500, and thereafter in 3 years another 5,000. At the same time, train at least one person in this in 250,000 panchayats or 5,000 ULBs. And the idea is they do it by themselves, like they know how to look at municipal plans or building plans for approval. So they must know that what they need to act upon or look at, and they be also trained. So if you see the total number to be trained in about 1 year's time, I think it will exceed 250,000 minimum. And the auditors, which we are saying professionals working as independent auditors, could be another 5,000 in 3 years. So that's the initial target. No assessment can be done as to how many we need, because the whole idea at this moment is that how it could be self-governed, self-assessed, and corrected. So auditor is a word which is being used to activate the entire exercise, but at the same time, like any architect is doing his own work, nobody tells him what exactly, how you need to plan, how plumbing would be done. So there would be consultants who would be inbuilt for the new projects, but the major challenge is for the existing buildings, which is being tackled like this.
Can I ask another question, please, related to the same topic? Has there been any penalty? Has any penalty been fixed for non-compliance?
Oh, yes. I think very good question. If you would look through the Persons with Disability Act 2016, this mandates, actually it has given a time which has already lapsed, is that in 3 years' time after the passing of that bill, so the act, when it comes into force in 2017, there was a period of 3 years within which all the public buildings had to become universally accessible. Section 40 clearly stipulates that anyone who would come in its way, including the professionals, there is a specific penalty provided for. And today I was discussing with Anjlee that this is what we all need to do, invoke that section to expedite the entire exercise, to activate the minds in terms of their responsibility, whosoever it may be it the architect or a municipal engineer or a municipal administrator, anybody who would come in way of not only universal access, any of the provisions of Persons with Disability Act, that not letting it happen could be penalized, or not doing it having the responsibility to do that.
Can I add something? Just one. I just want to tell everybody present here, when we say public building, that doesn't mean government buildings. It means public, private, everything, wherever any public will go, including the residential apartments, societies, flats, everything.
Even a nursery school or a private school, it's a public building. So they are covered with that definition. Absolutely right.
And as we are working further on it, just for your information, we are also looking at temporary installations, exhibitions, art installation. So we want to encourage people to do things in such a way that everybody can be part of it. So that's where the vision is, and our government and the Prime Minister himself, we are told that he is very keen on getting things streamlined and put on track. So we are looking at more inclusive India as we spend thousands of crores, in next couple of years. So hopefully, and that's where the opportunity is, what Sidhant just showed us. So, yeah. Somebody else wanted to ask a question over there? Yeah, please. Can you pass on the mic?
Good evening, everybody. I have a very simple technical question to Kavita ma'am. You just talked about aesthetics, which was very rightly said by you. I just wanted to know that when we are selecting tactile tiles, so is it primarily that we have to keep the yellow color on priority, or since we have more options in colors like terracotta, grey, stainless steel and beige color, so we can go for that also, or should we keep the yellow color only on priority?
I'm really glad that a technical question has come up, because most of the times the error happens in the implementation, and such kind of errors can defy the whole purpose of creating accessibility, apart from wastage of a lot of financial resources that go into making accessibility. So thank you for that question. What you must ensure, of course, I mean, the whole idea of color spectrum, which ranges and which caters to different kinds of visual impairment, is definitely some knowledge that we all must have in terms of, which are the colors which create good visibility for persons with visual impairment. But I would say color contrast is the most important thing. So to build in an aesthetical environment while creating universal accessibility, particularly with respect to tactiles, please go for contrast between the base flooring material and your tactile. So there should be a good amount of color contrast in any surface. So it's not just the tactile, it could be your, your floor versus the wall tiles, be it in toilets or be it in corridors where you're cladding something. So distinguish any two surfaces with color contrast so that it reduces the hazard of tripping or confusion in terms of mobility, navigation, etc. So color contrast is the key.
Thank you.
Anybody else, or I have a question? Anybody else wants to ask a question? Okay. Dr. Anjlee, I have a question that most of us are designers here. As an auditor, what is it that you are expecting us to do? Because you do audit for more than 2 decades now. So what is one couple of things or one particular thing that you would like to share with us that we should be alert when we design a building?
So I think what is required is universal accessibility. We have been talking about it, and inclusive design, because having a ramp or a quote-unquote disabled toilet, the toilet is actually a disabled one, will be a tokenism. So we look at the society at large and provide for everything, and exclusion is something which is happening, because if you provide a ramp and you don't provide braille signage or tactile or a contrast color signage, it becomes exclusionary for many others. Simply, if I talk about wayfinding signage, everybody needs it, all of us. Where are we going? In a space like this, I think we were all lost for one moment or the other, that where are we, where we need to go. So I think what we require from the designers is to look at holistically, look at the users, the type of building, who are the people, and don't forget age, disability, and gender-friendly designs. I also want to add that if you do it in the planning stage, the cost is less than 1 to 2%. But if you do it retrofitting, it becomes extremely, extremely expensive. And also that you can't get to 100% accessibility if you are doing retrofitting. The last thing I want to say is that if you don't include unintentionally, you're excluding intentionally. So think about it, the section 42 applies here, and be, because there is a legal commercial benefit behind it. So don't think it that my boss, my client, the people whom we are doing it, they don't require it. I got a message recently, we were doing IIT and IIM Jammu, and they said we don't require tactile paver, because no person with visual impairment will go to a technical institute. And here I go. One of the professors himself was blind, partially blind because of age. So that's the answer. Thank you.
I would like to add here, let's remember that we want to create, the aim is to create an experience of inclusion, right? It's not just ensuring accessibility, because like Anjali ma'am said very rightly, that would be a very tokenist approach. Just ensuring that harmonized guidelines are followed is only going to be a prescriptive approach and not necessarily end up creating an experience of inclusion. So it has to start from the tracing paper stage, I would say, and the intangible aspects, like he mentioned, the acoustics, the colors, the light, all those intangible aspects that we otherwise also generally consider in design need to be looked at through the lens of diversity in the users. So let's use the universal design principles rather than only trying to ensure accessibility. And the second thing that, because there's a lot being talked about Braille, we have to be really, we make a lot of efforts to be abreast with the recent trends in the industry, the needs of the society, etc. So I think if we want to really pursue universal accessibility, we need to make an effort to also know those unknown users and their needs. We must know that only 1% of the population of persons with visual impairment know and learn Braille. And more than 90% persons with visual impairment would want to have audio rather than Braille. So, please, times are changing, technology is changing, there is a lot that is coming up in terms of assistive devices and technology. So please be abreast with what is happening in the industry in terms of the accessibility solutions, and ensure that you are not, following stereotypical guidelines and products out there. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I think we have got a message to conclude because of the time constraint. So kindly excuse me, no more questions. But to conclude, I would like to say that whatever is your motivation, we heard it all. Maybe it's money, as Sidhant said, that besides his personal motivation, he looked at it from a business angle. Or maybe it's following the law, or just doing your bit for a good cause as a designer. I would just say, as Kavita ma'am said, just do it. Don't think twice. You will not only create universally accessible built environment for people with disabilities, but it will also even give safer walking in accessible built environment for your own self. So not for anybody else, but for yourself also, you need to do this. So with that, I think let's end this wonderful discussion with the stalwarts of this industry, and let's give them a very big hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for all our revolutionary leaders. I mean, ek se badhkar ek. What an enlightening panel this was. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for your time. We cannot stress that enough. Thank you so much for sharing your life journeys with us. And we request Ms. Vartika to kindly come on up and present our revolutionaries with a token of our appreciation.